This will likely be the last speech that I will be able to give from the House floor. I can imagine there are people clapping all over that are watching C-SPAN, but it's been a tremendous honor to serve in this hallowed body. It just has. From John Adams, as a follow-up to what my friend from Arizona, Swiper, was saying, he had great exchanges with his friend, then his enemy, and then his friend again the rest of their lives, Thomas Jefferson. And John Adams said there are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. I would say, Louis, you make a great judge. Mother, I don't want to be a judge. There's some lawyers I'd hate to sit there and listen to all day. And besides, I make more money than a judge does. I've got no interest. We lost her in January of 1991. And after that, I've been thinking about what my brilliant mother used to say. And a few months later, I had a judge call me and ask if my female client would go out with him before her trial. It was a civil trial on a breach contract. And I told him basically I couldn't help him, but I knew we needed a new judge. So I tried for months to find somebody. He said, nobody gave you a snowball's chance of winning because, this guy was first Republican elected in the county. In fact, I had Republican leaders that said, look, we know it's not great, and there were some issues there, but he was the first Republican elected in our county, and we just feel like we owe him the job. Well, nobody's owed a public service job. So at Thanksgiving, we had this piece. This is what I'm supposed to do, win or lose. Ran and ended up not just squeaking by as was predicted the day before, and a 50-50 chance of winning, won with 70% of the vote. After years on the bench, I just had this feeling. I applied the law as it was, whether I liked it or not. But that I need to go change some of these laws, try to change some of them. And then I had the invitation from Governor Perry to an appointment to be Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals there. And I thought, well, perhaps this is a way to finish my career on the bench. My wife thought so after we prayed about it. And I appreciate my friend Gildy. But John Adams, in one of his letters to Jefferson, toward the end of his life, he said, the general principles on which the fathers, about the founding fathers, achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. I will avow that I then believed, and I now believe, that those general principles of Christianity are as eternal and immutable as the existence and attributes of God. John Jay himself, one of the authors of the Federalist Papers, Supreme Court Justice, our nation's actually first Chief Justice, he wrote in his own handwriting, the Bible is the best of all books, for it's the Word of God, teaches us the way to be happy in this world and in the next. Continue, therefore, to read it and to regulate your life by its precepts. Back to John Adams, he said, the jaws of power are always open to devour, and her arm is always stretched out, if possible, to destroy the freedom of thinking, speaking, and writing. Boy, he was so astute and wise. He said, democracy will soon degenerate into anarchy, such anarchy that every man will do what is right in his own eyes, and no man's life or property or reputation or liberty will be secure. It was so true. But recently I read a sermon that was prepared by Pastor Tommy Nelson in Texas. Well, there was a governor, Thomas Nelson of Virginia, who was a commander back during the Revolution. 1781, Yorktown is surrounded. General Lafayette comes over and says, General, Governor, where should we fire first with our cannons? And Governor Nelson, General Nelson, he knew that the British command was in his home. They'd taken his home, they made it their command center. And he told Lafayette, right there at my house. There were some reportedly that said, we didn't want to fire at that, it's your house. And he said, that's where the enemy is, that's where you got to fire. And cannonball after cannonball went through his home. The founders suffered so much, gave so much, many with their lives. You look at the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, they suffered immeasurably. Many of them forfeited their lives for the cause of freedom.